Hey people, Cranksman here. I'm starting a new playlist of videos. These videos are going to be focusing on small engine modification. This video is going to be working with the engine for mini bike build from scratch. It's basically a 3.5, 4-horse Briggs Stratton motor that I'm going to rebuild. I got it tore down already. I'm not going to shoot any videos on the tear down or the build up. There's plenty of videos on YouTube for that. This is going to be focusing on engine modification. Right now I got it set up. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to the engine block. Show you. Basically I'm going to do a port job on it. Port job, I call it a stage 1 port job, where it involves bowl work, chamber work, and gasket matching. Start with the intake runner. When you look down the intake runner, you'll see casting flash. Let's see, get a good view. See my pointer where it's pointing at? That's casting flash. When they made the engine, manufacturer leaves that in there. It comes up to the other side. I get rid of that with the grinder. The next part of the bowl work would be working on the underside, even though this is the top part of the engine and it's a flatty block. This is called the underside because it's a short radius turn in the runner before it hits the valve, which is, get a good point, good view of it. This area right here, if you grind this down, this will drastically increase performance. Get a lot of airflow. This creates a lot of turbulence, basically a 90-degree turn. Smoothen that out, make it a smooth bend. The air charge will come into the engine better. Next part of the bowl work would be around the valve. You got a little hill. Smoothing that down. Next part would be where the valves. See that? There's a little ridge here. I can right there. There's the ridge. It's from the valve seat. It's basically a metal ring pressed into the block. It's steel and the block's aluminum. And this creates a little edge here. I'm going to smoothen that down. Next part would be unshrouding the valve in the chamber. This is the chamber here where the fuel air charge burns. Unshrouding the valve, which would involve this area right here, coming around and then up to this area. No sense of unshrouding here because you're going to mess up the engine block. You're going to go past where the gasket seals. If you have the gasket sticking out, it's just going to burn, and it'll burn through and you create a hole. So from this point all the way around, let's do that again. From this point, go around to this point, will be unshrouded. Basically you're going to grind down this area right here, which is a little ledge. Smooth it out. I'll probably take this completely out so where it's level with these. Here I'll create like a little ramp. Get rid of this edge here. Create a little ramp so it'll flow better. It'll just come in at a straight angle. Right now it's hitting this wall, coming up and hitting the cylinder head before it actually goes into the chamber. Same thing with the exhaust. This part will be flattened down. It'll start from here, come all the way around. Gasket matching. I'm going to do a little work on the head gasket. If you notice, there's a little impression where the cylinder head pushes down on it. This little part right here, I'm going to shave down all the way around to here. It's going to come all the way around to this point. It's actually hanging into the cylinder block, into the cylinder chamber, and that's creating a little edge where when the fuel air charge hits it on the backside, it's hitting that gasket and creating turbulence. Shave that gasket down a little bit. Just follow the imprint. I'm not going to go past that, otherwise it'll just weaken the gasket and burn through. Cylinder head, I'm not going to do any modification to it. There's not much metal to work with. If I was going to, it would be just shaving it to bring it down to the surface. There's a little step here, which means if I were to shave it, it would boost compression, but it's not going to affect it that much. Boosting compression won't give me that much more power. I'd rather keep the metal on there for strength. When you look at the other side, there's really not much metal in the walls to be taking metal off, so I'm just going to leave it alone, just clean it up, put it back on. So when I get back from doing the work, I'll show you the modification I did on the bowl area, the chamber part, and the gasket. See you then. Hey, I'm back. I'm going to show you real quick what I did. The intake port. Basically, I did the bowl first. Got rid of all that casting flash. Opened up the bowl a little bit. When you open up the bowl, that's the first part that enters the chamber. The bigger the bowl, the more charge you're going to get in there first. So you open that up. You really can't open these motors up too much because there's not enough metal there, but any little bit counts. I got rid of that little ridge on the valve seat. Let's see. Hold it up to the light. Get a better view. The little ridge is gone. There we go. Show you the underside. Do a comparison with the intake and the exhaust. They're pretty much identical. You can see how much I opened it up. This is going to drastically improve the engine performance. You can see how much I opened it up on the underside. The underside is this part underneath in there, the short radius turn part. And then when you do a side-by-side comparison, you can barely see through it. That's the exhaust port. When I get done with the exhaust port, it's going to look pretty much like the intake port. Hey, I'm back. I just got done doing the exhaust port. I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison after. That's the intake port. You can see how wide it's open. You look at the exhaust port, it's opened up pretty good too. It's going to move a lot of air. I took advantage of the exhaust port. It's bigger than the intake port because it has the threads in there. You screw in a pipe for the muffler. I guess they made that bigger just to do that. I'm not going to be screwing in an exhaust pipe. I'm going to make a flange using the 2-bolt holes. So I ground down the threads so it'll create less turbulence. But that's open a lot. That's going to move some air. Same thing with that. This thing's got a rump. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. This part's going to focus on gasket matching. I'm working on the head gasket. Just did the exhaust side. If you notice, I ground down this area to here to compare it to the intake side. Intake side, you notice that the gasket's laying over into the machined area where the valve seat is, and when you compare it to the exhaust side, you can actually see part of the engine block deck surface. That gasket is now as far as it can be out of the way. I don't think it's going to burn through. It's going to be sandwiched in between the cylinder head and the engine block, so it shouldn't burn. That's my theory. This is actually the first time I'm doing this. I noticed this on a whim when I was looking at getting rid of these ridges, and I had the gasket sitting on top to determine where I needed to start and where I needed to stop. So let's pull this off and set it on the cylinder head, and boo. Now when I have it on the cylinder head, wait a minute. You can see where I ground down the gasket. You can see the cylinder head on this side, and when you look on this side, the gasket is laying over the cylinder head. Now what I'm going to do next is scribe a line on the cylinder head going along the gasket, and I'm going to grind this down. I'm going to take it all the way down to this surface here. That's going to open up the area behind the valve a little more. I'm going to do the same thing on the intake side. As you can see, it's leaning over. If this was together, sandwiched in between there, that valve, the back side is pretty much useless. It's hitting that bump on the gasket. This side it's not. This side's creating turbulence, and this side it should be smooth and flowing pretty smooth. Okay, I'm back. I just got done unshrouding the valves, gasket matching the head gasket to the cylinder block and cylinder head. How I did it was I took a scribe, made an outline of the areas I wanted to grind out to let me know how far to go here. So that's unshrouded. Here and here's unshrouded. All I did was just give it a little slope. I got rid of the straight edge going up for the cylinder head. I did the same thing. I took the scribe, made an outline, let me know how far I could go with the grinder, and when I ground it down, I start from here all the way over to this hole. I didn't go straight down. I went on a little slope when I ground it down. Looks pretty good. Pretty much done with the stage 1 porting. Let me know what you think. If you want to know more about porting, let me know. Rate the video, like it, hate it, subscribe. Thanks to man. Bye.